fake connect them. Bloom, showing a fake connect them.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Glad to have you with us on a Thursday afternoon in the middle of the summer. I know for many florists, this is a slow time. You've got time on your hands, so I think works to our advantage. We're glad to have you with us, and I really appreciate that I was invited to jump in and host the show for an hour and share some ideas and some thoughts with you. We've got probably about 3 hours worth of topics that we want to cover, so we've got a lot to do today. It's going to be a productive afternoon. So I want to start by showing you some slides that we created, so you're going to be able to follow along, get some ideas. This obviously is going to be recorded. You can watch it afterwards, but our feeling is this is the perfect opportunity for any florist to learn some new ideas, whether you have been in business for 70 years or 100 years, like some of my customers, or you just started. You maybe just made the transition from being a hobbyist to buying your first brick and mortar flower shop. You're going to get a lot out of what we're going to talk about today. So the topic is uncovering the 7 deadly sins of the floral industry. What we're going to do is talk about them, dissect them, help you to recognize them if they're happening in your store, and they probably are. And then we're going to show you how to deal with them, what the resolution is, how to solve these, so these aren't impacting your business anymore in a negative way. So let's jump in and let's start with a little bit of an introduction. So I'm happy to have with me today Rebecca Casey, AIFD, and I think you've got some more letters after your name too, Rebecca. You have to fill me in on those. Rebecca is a part of our team. She's been with the company for many years. She helps me with doing the training. She also helps all of the florists who join our different programs to get them onboarded, make sure everything's working correctly. And I'm happy to have her with us today. What she's going to help to do is, as you are asking questions, typing in the chat box, she's going to feed those to me. And we definitely encourage you to be active throughout. When I say something that you want further details on, send us a chat. If you want to chime in, I'm not sure if everybody has the ability to mute and unmute. Do we cover that, Rebecca? I'm not sure if we're going to have
I don't
people.
think so. I think just chat boxes. Yeah.
It's going to be chatting to keep it a little bit more manageable. Okay. Well, we definitely want to get your feedback and get everybody involved. Okay. Let me take a hot minute and just give you a super short story on me, because for many of you, maybe this is the first time that you're hearing of me or meeting me, or maybe you've heard my name or not connected the dots. A lot of people know about me through my connection with SAF. Super happy and proud to be part of the SAF, Society of American Florist family, who also is helping out with the show today. They're one of our sponsors. I speak regularly at their conventions and their regional meetings, and I also write a column in their magazine. But my story is pretty interesting. I've been in the flower industry since April of 1993. I had worked at a super high-end flower shop in New York City, and for 4 years while I was working there, I did what most people do in a flower shop, and that's everything from answer the phones to wait on customers to make a delivery to clean a bucket to sweep the floor to deal with a Karen to clean a vase to everything in between. And it was great. The flower shop where I worked was very well organized, very profitable, very prosperous, very efficient. So what I did in 1997 was I took that concept and all those best practices and I put it together as a process. And this is what we've been teaching to florists ever since. And it goes from the high level of customer service and sales down to a granular level of how to lay out your design room. What are the best marketing methods? What are the proper questions to ask when you're interviewing a potential staff member? So we really cover every aspect of running a flower shop more efficiently and more prosperously. So a couple of numbers for you. I've been doing floral business coaching now for 26 years. Kind of scary to think about it. Time flies when you're having fun. Collectively, when we factor in Rebecca and some of our other team members, we have over 100 years of experience in the floral industry. we're really happy to say that at this point, we have over 7,000 individual retail florists who've been working with us in one capacity or another on 5 continents. I visited many of their stores. I've visited over 6,000 flower shops. Many of them join us on our webinars. Some of them do custom training. But I'm really proud to say that we are actively involved with thousands of flower shops. And kind of across the board, what happens, regardless of location, once somebody starts to put our principles into process, they see their average sale rise by 25%. And that's an astonishing figure. If you think about the numbers, that's adding maybe an extra 25, 50, 100 grand or more to your bottom line like that. And it's very doable. And we're going to touch on how that happens today in a couple of different manners. So what I want to show you next is a fact. The fact is that when customers shop on your website, on average, they spend 25% more money than when they call the store or when they visit the store. And this happens universally. I've seen this in Australia. I've seen this in small town Kansas. I've seen this everywhere. It happens all the time. And when I say customers, what I mean are typically people who live within 30 miles, 50 kilometers of your store. For whatever reason, they've opted to shop online instead of calling or visiting, but they spend 25% more. That's a huge amount of money. Does anybody have an idea of why that happens? Anybody want to take a guess? There are a couple of reasons, but I've kind of honed it down to just one gigantic one. Let's take a minute and see if anybody wants to chime in, Rebecca.
Well, I know the answer.
Yeah, but you gotta keep it a secret.
I know. It's pretty juicy.
It is juicy. It's juicy. Let's have everybody stew for a minute and see if somebody wants to take a guess. And I'll tell you what we hear is a common response. People will say, well, because there's a visual, they can see something. I think that's part of it. So Tracy chimes in, there's no sales staff to offer less. Yeah, and full disclosure, Tracy is a customer. She's a believer, and yeah, what we say is simply that the website isn't afraid of customers. When I go onto your website and I need to order flowers for a funeral, I'm going to see options for an easel spray, $300, $500, $700. Unfortunately, when I call the store, almost no matter what I say, what I'm told is, well, our easel spray start at $250. So if you tell me that, what am I going to spend? In turn, when I go onto your website and I'm maybe placing an order for my niece's birthday, I'm typing through the pages and I get a prompt, I get a pop-up. Oh, add some chocolates, add a balloon, include a teddy bear. Oh, that's a great idea. Click, click, click. I'm ticking all the boxes. I spend all the money. I call your store, I visit your store. Sometimes I'll even trip over the card rack, but nobody mentions it to me. And I think we operate under the assumption that if a customer wants it, they're going to ask for it. That's not the case. We're going to come back to that in a couple of minutes. But the bottom line is every single florist on this workshop today can instantly increase your cash flow. Heading into August, heading in the dead of summer, you can instantly increase your cash flow by 25% if you simply start handling customers differently. And that's what we're going to work with you on today as we kind of walk through uncovering and discovering what some of these fatal mistakes are that flower shops make. One of the things that we like to talk about is that we regularly make secret shopper calls to flower shops. We actually have a recurring program every month called Mystery Shopper Calls Live, where we listen to 3 of these calls and talk about them as a group. But what we see happening, and this is chronic in the industry, is we hear what a customer says, but we don't listen to their needs. And I know that sounds like I'm mincing my words, but there's a fundamental difference, and we'll expand upon this today and understand that offering customer a bigger design at a higher price point is actually good service. For some reason, in the floral industry, even the word sale makes people cringe. It's like selling and sales is kryptonite, but it's not. It's really good customer service, and every other industry in the world is unafraid to offer higher price points except customer service in flower shops. So if you focus on this idea of let me really listen to what the customer needs. Why did she call me? Why did he walk in the store? If I address those, by default, you're going to be making bigger sales. You're going to be having happier customers. Your store is going to be more profitable and more prosperous. So we do want you to get involved today. Type in a question, raise your hand, give us your 2 cents. If you don't agree with something I say, by all means, let me know, and I'm happy to discuss it. And I don't want to act like I'm the definitive resource. I feel like I'm always learning something. I'm always expanding what we teach, basically because the retail environment has changed so much. Rebecca and I talk about this all the time. When you look back to 2019, the early stages of COVID, deep within COVID, post-COVID, and now what I call COVID in the rearview mirror, there's been some fundamental shift in the way that customers shop and what their expectations are. And if you haven't kept up with that, you're really missing some opportunities and you're 2 steps behind. So let's start talking about these sins. And Rebecca, as always, if anybody sends you a message privately or something comes into chat, just chime in and let me know what's going on.
Will do.
So we're calling these sins, and that's maybe a little melodramatic, but they're problematic because they eat away at your profitability. They slow down the staff. They cause your customers to have less than a memorable experience. So we really do want to kind of bring these to the forefront, and we want to help you eradicate them. And what we've learned in our working with florists is there are lots of sicknesses out there. There are lots of maladies that flower shops are suffering from, but they don't necessarily even realize it. I think one of the biggest things that happens all the time, and I hope this causes everybody to stop and think for a minute. We'll talk to people about what we do. Oh, we offer customer service and sales training, and my staff, we don't need training. My staff is very friendly. And my reply to that is fantastic. I can't teach friendly. But just because they're friendly doesn't mean they're doing a good job. And don't we hear that every month, Rebecca?
Oh, all the time.
We make secret shopper calls to people who are super friendly and like you almost want to go and have a beer with them. And we'll tell them, oh, it's my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. And then let's say, oh, well, our arrangements start at $45. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how can you be so friendly but just disconnect and not listen? And that's a big problem. So essentially what we want to do is help you to realize what some of these mistakes are and then act like a doctor. And we're going to give you a prescription, a basic remedy for banishing these bad practices from your store, stepping up your game, and really turning a corner so you're more productive, more efficient, and ultimately more profitable. Let's take a look at our first, and these aren't in any order of importance. I think they're all equally problematic. But the first one that kind of always comes to mind for me is this one. And it's the idea of asking customers, how much do you want to spend? I could spend 2 hours talking on this one topic alone. It's horrible. It's horrible. And unfortunately, it's the standard. It's acceptable in our industry to ask customers this. And the irony is, we're not selling solar panels or shoelaces or driveway refinishing. We're selling, I'm sorry to hear that you're getting divorced. We're selling, congratulations on your first grandchild. We're selling, get well soon. I hope you're up and dancing by October. We're selling emotions, and we're drilling it down to this very transactional level. It's just a horrible way of selling. And let me pick it apart a little bit, because I know when we throw this idea out there, there's often a lot of pushback. People will say, but that's the way I've always done it. Doesn't make it right. People will say, well, how else are you going to find out what a customer wants to spend? There are much smarter, easier ways of doing it. People will tell us, well, that's what customers want to do. If they're really that worried about money, they'll tell us. So here's some food for thought. This is my diagnosis, if you will, of our situation. And that is, got one step ahead of myself. that number one, when you ask this question, what you're doing is you're making customers feel uncomfortable because you are talking about money. I had shared just this morning, I was doing a workshop with a flower shop in Ohio, and I told them that I did a project for SAF about 10 years ago. It was during the summer, middle of the summer, like this time, and I'd called 20 different flower shops. And with all of these flower shops, I said the same thing, that I need to order flowers for a funeral. My grandmother died unexpectedly, and with 18 out of the 20, I was asked, well, how much you want to spend? And I just thought, like, not, what was her favorite color, or was she a flower person, or nothing engaging. It was really about money. So it's crass. As I said a couple of minutes ago, it's an emotional sale. So we need to get better at selling to what their needs are. And my feeling is that asking for a budget is it's a crude, old-fashioned way of selling. And Rebecca and I have trained and met many people who have worked at dozens of flower shops. They've worked 3 years here and 5 years there and 6 years here, and the bad habits travel with them, and that doesn't make it right. Again, it doesn't give us an excuse. If you stop and think about it, it's pretty hard to imagine any other industry in the world that does this except florists. And at the same time, I wonder, why is our industry shrinking? Why are there fewer and fewer florists? Maybe it's because we've got bad business habits, bad business practices. So we really want to break you of that habit because it's shrinking your sales. It's leaving customers with less than a great feeling about your shopping experience. And it's not a comfortable way of engaging customers. I hate when I hear it, and I've tried it a couple times, and it doesn't fit right. So the expert advice here is listen to your customers, understand what their situation is. If it's grandma's funeral, if it's your parents' wedding anniversary, if it's your daughter just won the spelling bee, offer an appropriate size, offer an appropriate design. And guess what? If they don't want to spend it, what will they say, Rebecca?
They'll just say no, and they'll move on to the next thing. No big deal.
Right. They'll say, oh, I don't need anything that big. I don't want to spend that much. What else do you have? But until we break this habit, your sales just can't go up. I cannot express enough what a really bad, problematic habit that is. Okay, let's keep going through our list, because we're actually going to hit you with one or two surprise sins. It's been a very sinful week for me, so we didn't stop at 7. Number 2 is when you're talking to customers or asking customers about specific flowers. We hear this all the time, and I'll tell you a dirty little secret. When I make my mystery shopper calls, sometimes to a flower shop who wants us to work with them in advance, we'll make a mystery shopper call. And so often people ask me, oh, what's your wife's favorite flower? I'll say it's my wife's birthday. And I say, oh, lily of the valley. And I can just I can hear their throat closing up because they're like, what? And then we don't have it. We can't get it. It's out of season. It's this, it's that. Talk about colors. It's much easier. If you look at this arrangement, and if you place this on the front counter at your flower shop and you put a sign in it that said free to the first customer who can name all these flowers, how long do you think it would sit on your counter? I think probably till August or September. Yes, somebody's going to be able to spot the rose. They probably can name a lily. Do they know what wax flower is? Do they know what stock is? Absolutely not. But they know colors. If that same sign inside said free today, if you can name all these colors, my gosh, it'd be out the door in a minute. Think about that. Think about that before you start talking about flowers to customers. So let's dig a little deeper into your diagnosis. My kind of standard, corny, old but still effective joke is that if you start to tell the customer that you've got scabiosa, they want to know if it hurts or how long you're going to be contagious. They don't know what it is, but if you tell them that you've got flowers in shades of reds or purples or yellows or pinks, they can resonate with that. If your customer is knowledgeable about flowers, and they're definitely out there, they'll tell you. They'll ask you, do you have this? Do you have that? They'll mention She doesn't like this. She's allergic to that. And that's fine. Go with the flow. Let the customer set the tone, but never assume that they're going to know about flowers. The other thing is when you start rambling off a list of flowers, well, it includes da, 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 it just takes time. It takes a long time. One of the hallmarks of the process that we teach people is that you get through a call so much quicker. And I also like to share with everybody that, yes, the majority of my time is spent doing workshops, doing training, developing new materials. But at the holidays, specifically Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, around Christmas, what I do is I work with the flower shop. I will either physically go there and be on the floor, answering the phones, taking orders. I work with them remotely. The one compliment that I get over and over, which I love to hear because it really validates everything we teach, is that customers will say to me, Tim, thank you so much. This was so quick. This was so easy. Meaning they didn't feel rushed. They didn't feel like I was, pushing them through the system. And I don't know they even could tell what was so radically different, but they knew they got through it quicker. They knew that there were fewer steps and they had a better understanding of what they're getting. So it reinforces my point. Don't talk about flowers unless you need to. And like I said 2 minutes ago, if you ask the customer what's her favorite flower, they say, lily of the valley, they say peony, they say stephanotis, they say something that's not available or something that's out of season. And then immediately, oh, sorry, we don't have that. We can't get that. So what's the workaround? It's very simple. The workaround is talk about colors, talk about palettes, talk about color schemes. And I make it very easy. I just go with the season we're in. So from now until about mid-September, I talk about garden flowers in vibrant summer colors. And I'll maybe mention a couple of colors. So the customer gets a visual, but I'm not tied to specific flowers. It makes it easier for everybody. It makes it easier for the customer to understand, makes it easier for the designer to fill that order as well. Okay, let's continue on our sinful journey. Number 3, this is really epidemic, and that's asking too many questions. The floral industry suffers from this problem of thinking that asking a lot of questions and getting a customer involved is good customer service. It's not. It's not. Ironically, customers come to you at a flower shop instead of going to a grocery store or a farmer's market because they want advice. They want guidance. They want to hear from a professional what looks good, what's in season, what's appropriate. Understandably, we have to ask questions, but we go overboard. We ask far too many questions, and it just confuses the customer. Rebecca and I regularly hear telephone calls that last 7, 8, 10 minutes or longer that don't need to. It's because the sales clerk is asking so many unnecessary questions. Understand that if you really want to give great customer service, you got to listen to their needs, not bombard them with questions. And when you're asking question after question after question, the customer feels a little off-put because they figured, my gosh, I didn't think I was going to go through the Inquisition. I just wanted to order birthday flowers. They're looking at you as the expert. When they call the store, when they visit the store, they figure that person on the other side of the counter, that person on the other side of the phone, he or she knows what I need. He or she is the expert. I'm going to follow their lead. And remember that in any capacity, whether you're walking into an Apple store, you're walking into a jewelry store, you're walking into a doctor's office, experts give advice. I'm not saying that they don't ask questions, but proportionate to the dialogue, they ask few questions, they listen, they make an assessment, and they give advice. So that said, our simple advice to you is offer appropriate suggestions, use proper language, sound confident, and customers are typically going to buy it. And remember, and this should be kind of running in the back of your head, that had that same customer been on your website, they would have been spending a lot more money. So make sure that you offer those higher price points because they'll come through and they'll spend it. Let's continue our sinful journey. Number 4 is always been a problem, and I think right now it's heightened because we're in the middle of summer. I'm in many Facebook groups, and I see all the posting. Oh my gosh, no sales. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be out of business. Oh my gosh, where do all the customers go? Everyone is so terrified because businesses slow down. The last thing they want to do is offer a higher price point because they figure, oh my gosh, if I offer a higher price point, I'm going to scare the customer away. I'm going to get the reputation as being an expensive florist. I'm going to anger the customer. Is any of that true, Rebecca?
No, not usually.
No, virtually none of it is true, not ever. So what I want to present to you is this, that customers aren't going to hang up or leave because they don't like the price. I'm not saying that has never happened, but I can tell you, when I look back on my career, so over 30 years, I've taken 1 million retail orders. I probably need this many fingers to count the number of times that a person has actually hung up on me or left the store. They might get a little pissy, they might get a little angry, but that's okay. They're still going to buy flowers. You have to remember who's paying for the flowers and not sell from your own pocket. Let's be candid. The floral industry isn't renowned for paying people a ton of money to work in there. It's an industry that you're in because you're passionate about it. You love it, but it's not making people rich. And because of that, we as sales clerks will often filter our suggestions and our selling process through our own wallet, through our own perspective. But you've got to remember they're paying for it, not you. If you want to get really kind of organic or granular or new agey, you can look at the word no as an acronym and not really a negative where the customer is saying, stop, I don't want it. But the customer, by saying no, is giving you a new opportunity to offer them another option, a smaller version, a different size, a different product. And customers do want to spend more. We know this, we see this every day. And if you don't believe me, your website is telling the story. You can say to me, well, you don't know our demographics. You don't know our little community. Respectfully, I do. But even if you don't believe me, watch your website. The website will validate every single thing that I'm doing and show you that we're leaving so much money on the table because we are suffering from these sins. We're making these mistakes over and over. But fingers crossed, the whole point you're with us today is that we're going to create awareness and you're going to have new ways of dealing with these so these aren't slowing down your business anymore. So my advice on dealing with saying no is just give them another option, give them another choice. And even when somebody says like, oh, that's ridiculous, I'm not spending that kind of money, and I've maybe offered a $150 arrangement, I'll tell them, of course, we can design a medium-sized version of that at $100. They don't have to spend the $150. It's not a all or nothing. We have the ability to be flexible. Just checking in with you, Rebecca. Any chats coming in?
No, not right now. So you're doing good.
Okie dokie. We'll keep going. But we encourage everybody to participate and ask some questions. So not offering add-ons, aka finishing touches, is a huge loss of revenue for flower shops. And I'm the first one to say that I make this mistake sometimes. I'm not infallible. I'm a human. I'll forget. And when I do, I just think, darn it, that would have been a perfect opportunity to offer the candle or the box of chocolates or whatever. But this is important for two reasons. Number one, it's a revenue stream for the store. This can add thousands of dollars to your bottom line every month. Number two, you're helping the customer to personalize the sale. And you're offering him or her an item that they probably aren't going to get if they're buying flowers at a farmer's market or at the grocery store or elsewhere. So here's a little bit of food for thought. Customers do love these items. And again, the website proves my point. Proportionally, so many more of your orders on the website have these purchases versus those generated in the store and on the phone. Why is there that disconnect? Because if we as salespeople don't offer it, they're not going to buy it. Another common mistake is salespeople assume that the customers know we have balloons or candy. They don't. They make an even greater assumption. Well, he's in the store. He can see the balloons on the wall. She can smell the fudge from the display case. They still don't connect the dots. It's our job to do that. If you don't mention it, they can't buy it. So you've got to step up your game and be more proactive about offering them. And the advice is stop asking, would you like to add anything else? Do you want anything more? Suggest it. What you can do is make it pairing. For example, if the gentleman is sending romantic roses to his wife to celebrate their wedding anniversary, and you have a beautiful candle like you saw in the previous image, tell them, I can add a wonderful lavender scented wax candle to her flowers. It burns for 30 hours and it's X dollars. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, but customers can't buy it if they don't hear about it. And trust me, we are losing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because we're not taking what amounts to 10 seconds, literally 10 seconds, to offer this item to a customer. So you need to turn that around in your store. Let me take a sip and we'll move on to our next sin.
It looks like Tracy typed in, I honestly believe the public is actively searching for higher end florists. The $29.99 bouquet can be found anywhere, but finding professional florists whose minimum vase design is $95 is now a niche. And I think that's true.
I'll add to that one of the things that I do when I travel is I get to my hotel and I make it part of my ritual to go to the local grocery store to get my whatever I need, my yogurt and my bottles of seltzer water. But I always look in their flower shop because I want to see, what are they offering? What kind of product? What quality is it? What kind of design? And what I've seen happening is so interesting is there is this shift where grocery store flower shops are becoming really good. They're offering great design. They're offering higher prices because the grocery stores are finally waking up to the fact that if Mrs. Consumer is going to come into the store and spend $11 for a jar of almond butter, she'd probably be comfortable spending $75 or $100 on a vase arrangement. And the long-standing complaint from florists, especially what I see in the Facebook group, is always the grocery stores, the grocery stores, the grocery stores. But it's flipping now because, to kind of echo Tracy's comment and add to it, flower shops are now being outsold by grocery stores. Grocery stores aren't afraid to offer higher price points. So it's an interesting shift. I think it's an opportunity for you to take note and learn from that and start raising the bar and offering higher prices in your store as well. Let's take a look at sin number 6. And sin number 6, sorry, I thought somehow that was off. Sin number 6 is the idea that you've got to stay on trend with what customers want. I talk to Rebecca sometimes when I'm on the road. I'll send her pictures and I'll say, I walked in this flower shop and I'm looking at my smartwatch and thinking, my gosh, is it 2025 or is it 1985? Because some of the arrangements I see in the coolers, the design style, the color scheme, and sadly, sometimes even the price are from decades ago. I'm not saying that you have to have this super avant-garde collection, but you need to be in line with what's happening. What are the trends? And for those of you who don't follow this, every year Pantone releases the color of the year, and you see that permeate society in so many ways. And the color for this year is mocha mousse, this kind of earthy, fleshy mocha color. And we did a workshop with Jackie Lacey, a former president of AIFD and part of our team. We did a workshop with him earlier in the year showing exactly how to integrate this color into your design style, no matter where you are. You could be in the most conservative little town in the middle of Nebraska. You still can integrate elements of that color into your design mix and be a little bit more on trend. One of the things that we have to think about or remember as a florist is you've got this eclectic group of customers. It's not just one gender and one age group. It's a wide range of customers, and we have to be better at having mass appeal. So there are a couple things to think about, that the people who are shopping at your store are not just your customers. they're shopping at other places and they're being exposed to new trends and new color schemes. And like I said, I did a little bit of research and saw that even in Walmart and TJ Maxx, you will see this color showing up in items that they're offering in house goods, soft goods. So it's pretty interesting to make that observation. And you can't sell just what you like. You've got to offer a wider variety. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be branded. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have an aesthetic, but we need to get from here closer to here. And remember that you've got people coming in from every age, every demographic, every ethnic group. So we want to be a little bit more open-minded about the styles that we're offering, and also even the price points. And my suggestion here is that you shake it up. Take a look at what's on your cooler, what's on your website, and maybe even take this as an opportunity to create a new category. Call it your on-trend category, where you're maybe focusing on something integrating mocha mousse. But if you want to stay ahead of the game, you've got to make sure that you have something that customers want to buy. Okay, so let's look at sin number 7. Number 7 is when you don't focus enough time and energy on your website and on social media. So I grabbed a screenshot off Winston Flowers. They're one of my very first customers. They are an iconic brand. I would easily say they're one of the top 5 flower shops in America. They're based in Boston. And coincidentally, it's kind of like circle of life. They ended up over the years growing their business, growing from Boston down to New York. And they actually bought the flower shop where I used to work. So that was kind of an interesting twist. My point is, go on their website for inspiration. Look around at other websites for inspiration. Find time to spend it on social media. I'm the first one to say I don't do it enough in our business. Rebecca and I talk about this. I need to spend more time, and I know that will bring us more exposure, and that will bring us more customers. It's an effort. It's a marketing effort that you have to endeavor to make happen, because if you do this, you are going to drive more traffic to your store. You are going to increase your business. Remember that your website is your second store. And to that point, I'm not going to mention names, but there's a flower shop that we work with, and I was on her site last week. She's in the middle of the country, and it's still showing Christmas. And I thought she's either really early or really late. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going to say really, really late. And quite honestly, what kind of message does that project to you as a customer if you went onto their website? And I know that was the rarity. I'm sure everybody with us today that their website has a summer collection, and you're even maybe looking ahead to autumn, and some of you might even be dabbling with promoting Halloween already. But what's important is that you keep it up to date, you keep the designs fresh, and spend time on social media. That's all I want to say here, because that's a whole program in itself, and I'm sure that you're going to see other workshops from us on that topic. But it's a whole topic in itself. And if you feel that you can't handle it, you don't understand it, you don't have time to do it, hire somebody. It could be somebody on your team to get things started. You can pay to have it done, but it's an integral part of how you operate your business and how you grow your business. Something else you could do as part of broadening your web sales and your social media presence is you can create a luxury site, a luxury collection rather, on your site, and share that on social media. Why not go higher, go bigger, go home, as they say. So those were what I consider to be the top 7, but I think collectively we came up with, I think, close to 20. We actually have a separate workshop that we launched last October. It was called The Next 7 Deadly Sins of the Floral Industry. But we've got some time left, so let's share a couple more with you. Number 8 would be not giving staff the new skills that they need. And obviously, this is something that's very important to us, that in almost any company, there is ongoing education for the team. Your software changes, customers' demands change, you bring in new product, you bring in technology. You've got to keep your staff educated. You have to keep them on top of their game. And if not, they're going to fall behind. They're going to be less efficient. If, for example, if customers are asking, can you text me a picture of my arrangement? Oh, we don't do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't have time to do that. Not good. Make sure your staff knows how to do that. So a couple things to ponder on this topic, that you're not designing the way you did 20 years ago. So why are you selling that way? And just think about everything we covered today, asking customers how much you want to spend, saying our arrangements start at, not selling balloons. That's antiquated. It doesn't work anymore. Your staff has to be educated. And the more regularly that you educate your staff, the more productive they're going to be, the happier they're going to be, the more likely they are to stay around and stay with you. Because trust me, when staff members see you as an owner manager investing in them and their professional development, they appreciate that. And florists are always talking about the competition, whether that is the flower shop down the street, that's the grocery store, it's the order gatherer, whoever it is. A very easy way to separate yourself from the competition is by having a well-trained staff that gives exemplary service, that isn't afraid to offer higher price points, that reminds people about those finishing touches. And as I said earlier, I bring it up here because I think it borders on a pet peeve, that just because your staff is friendly, that doesn't mean they're doing a good job. Trust me, we can call your store and I can beg and beg and beg your staff to sell me a large design, and they might be friendly and bubbly, but they're not going to listen to me. It's just like proof positive that we're leaving so much on the table, and training fixes that. We're able to fix that. We're able to take those friendly, happy, bubbly people that you have, give them some new tools, give them some new perspective, and boingo, it's putting a lot more money in your pocket. And simply put, one of the best ways of doing this is invest in staff development. You'll get a great return on it. And there's actually a metric that shows how much you should be spending in relation to your gross earnings per employee. And do the math. And it's interesting. You're gonna realize, oh my gosh, I haven't spent that in years. And it's not gonna be as much as you thought, but the return is pretty intense. The last sin that we're gonna give you, very, very timely, because of lots of the issues that florists are dealing with right now with the fluctuation in prices, is the sin of fear of raising your product prices and your service prices. It becomes circular and cyclical. Well, I don't want to scare customers away. I don't want to charge too much. I don't want to drive them into the hands of the competition. And sometimes that's done quite literally at the expense of your own profits. And that is in no way, shape, or form a sustainable way of running your business. So a couple of things to think about. I understand that florists collectively want to self-identify as creative people. I have some that go the extreme that whenever we talk about business, it's like, la, 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 I don't want to hear business. Business is kryptonite, but you're in business to make money, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to profit from your efforts. And you have to keep your prices and your margin in sync with your costs. If you're not, if previously you were doing a 3.5 markup, but because your suppliers are charging so much more now, you figure, I don't want to upset customers, I'm only going to do a 3-time markup, you're taking your business backward. One of the things that happens so often at holidays is florists will raise their delivery fee, and sometimes they feel almost like they're being devilish. They're being a little cheeky. They'll raise their delivery by like maybe $1 or $2. Nobody says boo. Customers don't even care. But then the florist will turn around and reverse that fee after the holiday. My point is, there's irrefutable evidence. customers will spend more, an incremental increase here, an incremental increase there, and they're paying more for everything now. Everything we look at, everything we touch has gone up. So people aren't going to stop buying flowers, especially if they're getting great service from your store. Maybe they're going to spend less. Maybe they don't shop as often, but that's part of the cycles that we always deal with the economy. It goes up and it goes down. There's some things that we just can't control, but we have to adapt to them as best we can. For dealing with this idea of fear of raising prices, the best workaround, especially when there's some of your set prices like your delivery fees and some of those others, is raise them regularly. If you do that, then you're not going to have a problem. I talk to flower shops who will tell me, well, we charge $8 for delivery. We haven't raised it in 10 years. Well, you should be charging $15 or more. And to go from 8 to 15, it's a big spike. That is going to raise some eyebrows, but you have to do it. So our advice is raise your prices regularly in response to your increase in cost. So you're keeping your margin, you're keeping your profitability, and you're keeping the lights on, and you're keeping your staff employed. It's important. Okay, well, I'm feeling very sinful and dirty, and I'm going to take a step back and take a break. We're 45 minutes in. We want to see if anybody has any questions, any comments, any feedback. Can I get our slides back for a minute? We weren't quite done. Thank you. I want to see if anybody has any questions or answer. I'll have the answers. You have the questions. While we're doing that, what I want to also tell people is a lot of what you've heard today. A lot of our answers and our solutions are part of what we teach, and it's called the Floral Confidence Workshop. We're really happy to be partnering with New Bloom Solutions for this workshop today. And what they generously have done is actually paid in advance for 20 flower shops to take our Floral Confidence Workshop. The tuition for that dedicated workshop is $1,400, and New Bloom Solutions has paid $700 of it. So if that's something you want to explore, you want to take advantage of, we'd love to work with you. It'll be an instant way of addressing your cash flow issues and integrating all these ideas into your store. Best thing to do, text me. That's my cell phone. Shoot me a quick email, and we'll show you how you can grab one of those 20 coupons, redeem it, and then we can work together. So before I step away, Rebecca, any questions get typed in? Any?
Well, I have someone who's curious. Is there something that you can say to a customer when they're upset about your prices?
Absolutely. What we teach in particular in our Floral Confidence Workshop is the idea that you don't apologize for prices. You educate them and you explain to them that this is what we charge. This is what we provide. I'm giving you kind of the blunt version of it. And if that price doesn't work for you, if that's too big, if that's more than you want to spend, I've got lots of options. Somebody, for example, complaining about the price of an orchid plant because they think that they saw the same orchid at Home Depot for a quarter of that price. Don't get into a big philosophical debate for them. Explain to them that's what we charge for our florist quality orchids, dressed and hand delivered and guaranteed. But if you don't want to spend that, I've got other beautiful flowering plants at lower prices. So we're big advocates of don't get into a big, deep conversation with the customer. We have a couple of simple bullet points of dealing with them and then moving them to another item. Any other questions or comments, Rebecca?
That's it right now.
Okay. All right. Then maybe our friend Sahid will jump in. You want to ask or comment or wrap it up? Oh, you're muted.
Hello there.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you again, Tim, for joining, and thank you for this partnership, which I'm super excited about, as it is a way to continue to help the floral industry grow and connect with awesome information like yours. I do have a bunch of questions, man. I just don't know which one to ask first, but it was a great episode, so thank you again. One question, just because it's a hot topic, it might have not been something you talked about, but how can AI help what we're talking about today? So how can AI solve some of these deadly sins?
So it's a good question, and I'm working with a couple of different people about the best way to integrate AI into the experience. I've seen quite a few chatbots being used on websites,
Okay.
so they can engage a customer and then say, "Oh, it sounds like you need to speak to my colleague in the store," and they'll connect them. I've seen some florists using, I believe there's a program out there where you could just use it directly, using AI to come up with more creative and inventive ways of naming their designs and describing their designs on the website. Because even though a picture is worth 1,000 words, that addition is going to maybe push a customer over the edge to help them to make the purchase. So I think that when it comes to AI, the floral industry is at 1999, meaning websites were out for a couple of years already. People were kind of sniffing around like, yeah, I'm not sure about this website thing. Is it a fad? Do we really need one? What's the point? And they kind of slowly got on board. We've seen AI do incredible things in other industries, and I think that it's going to happen in our industry as well. There will be integrations with point of sale systems. There'll be better integrations with websites. We're looking at even using AI in some training models. So it's here to stay. It's going to be part of what people do. And I don't think you should fear it. I think you should embrace it, because ultimately it's saving us time.
It's a great way to create content too. That's something I've been an advocate about. Is creating content doesn't hurt you as long as it's real flowers. It just gives you extra legs. It gives you extra reach. It's pretty cool.
For sure.
Grocery stores. You mentioned something that was so key. I've been taking a lot of pictures of grocery stores and seeing $100 arrangements, $200 arrangements, and just blown away. The other day, I heard a story of someone, maybe you just said it, but a $400 arrangement. But what I feel is that grocery stores, as of yet, will not have that personal touch, right? Of empathy, of communication, of service. What are your thoughts on how does a florist stand aside from florists, from supermarkets? How do they make themselves more valuable than a supermarket?
It would come back to the service experience. So
Right.
being able to say to somebody, I'm really sorry about the loss of your grandmother. Tell me a little bit about her. What were her hobbies? What were her favorite colors? Being able to create a more curated experience. Being able to offer more services than a grocery store does right now. I think for a long time, florists weren't too concerned about grocery stores because they weren't delivering. All that's changed now, because they can use Uber, they can use Lyft, they've got their own delivery people. So there's really this paradigm shift. And I'm not trying to spread doom and gloom. All that I'm saying is, if as a florist, you still look at somebody who works in a grocery store as like, oh, they're not really a florist, or I'm not worried about the grocery store florist, you might want to rethink that. I'm not saying that you need to, be up all night grinding your teeth, but the corporations who own these grocery stores are multi-billion-dollar behemoths, and they're going to do the homework. They're going to find out what customers want. They're going to realize where there's the potential to earn money, and they're going to bring that in. The same way when they introduced wine into grocery stores years ago. And here's a quick one about this. And you may have heard this, but I thought this was really smart. One of my customers in Atlanta back in the late 90s had been in grocery stores, and he explained to me that when grocery stores first started to bring wine in, all the local independent liquor stores were up in arms. How can you do this? And they were fit to be tied. We're going to lose business. Undoubtedly, they did, because it was a convenience. I can grab a bottle of this. But another way of looking at it, I think this is very smart, is the person who maybe previously was intimidated to go into a liquor store, and there are like lines and lines and rows of wine. Now suddenly there's this small curated experience. Maybe they buy a bottle and they get comfortable and they try another bottle, but they want more. There's nobody standing in the wine aisle at the grocery store making suggestions. So that could be the stepping stone to going into a liquor store. So that's another way of looking at the grocery store flower shop, that maybe it's going to get somebody on that flower ladder, but when they want that more deep, that more involved service experience, that they're going to come to you.
Very, very smart, very smart. And I always say that you can go to Home Depot and get wood, but you can't build a house, right? So you can always buy the basics at a supermarket, but you can't have that custom touch and emotional touch when it comes to making something for your mom or your wife.
Sure.
You know,
For
so,
sure.
100%. And I love what you said about websites, right? I think that's really, really key as well. And when you kind of tied it in with AI, that it took us a very long time to adjust, even to the point that there's still some websites that were $19.99.
Mm-hmm.
How would you recommend the customer? What would you say to them that they're afraid of investing in a website? You know, what is that? Because that's where the boundary is gosh, $5,000 too expensive or $4,000. How do you get them to be brave and take that jump to improving their website?
Well, if we want to use $5,000 as a mark, show me any community where you can get 1,000 square foot brick and mortar store, get it fitted out, get it staffed, pay the taxes, pay the utilities for $5,000 for a year, and have that open 24 hours a day. Yeah. It's not going to happen. A flower shop is your second store. So you can be the proverbial mom and pop flower shop in a town of 5,000 in Nebraska. And trust us, we have so many of those customers. That website suddenly opens you up literally to the world. As cliche as it sounds, it opens you up to the world. It's the smartest, wisest investment you can make. A flower shop, actually, every single brick and mortar flower shop has 3 stores. They have their brick and mortar entity. That's store number 1. They have their website. That's store number 2. And they have their display cooler. That's door number 3. And that's something we can even talk about that in a future show. I just wrote an ebook on it that is such a critical vehicle for telling a customer who you are. It's like a mannequin. You know, it's telling the customer who you are and what you offer and what you're about. So yeah, every store really has 3 stores in one.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. And I do want to say that, you know, this is not the last we see of Tim on the show. So do keep a track and an eye out. Do subscribe because we will be doing other takeovers with Tim where he will be giving you insight, education, and do take advantage of that coupon that we're both offering and that great opportunity that Tim's been so gracious to offer as well. So do take advantage of that. And Tim, we got to talk a little bit more about how do we get that out there to really try to, you know, make it available to as many florists as possible. So Tim and Rebecca, do you have any final thoughts? Any final questions?
What I would say is, you know, don't be afraid of change. You know, it's difficult. You know, we talk to customers, meaning flower shop owners, regularly, who will say to us, you know, we don't need training. We've been doing this for 30 years. Doesn't mean you're doing everything right. And it's a totally different world than it was 30 years ago. All of the best companies, all the biggest flower shops regularly invest in training. We're happy to say that we have, as one of our customers, Nansen Craft in Louisville, Kentucky. They're the oldest family-owned flower shop in the country. They've been open since 1850. They invest in training all the time. They're not saying we're too big, we're too old. They realize that it's an ongoing process. So
and that's 100%. That's something our industry is very important, that we continue to learn, not just from training ourselves, but outside of our industry, to see what they're doing outside to be able to bring it into our industry. So having someone like you that is the guru of training is really key to connect people to. So I agree with you 100%. Be more curious than judgmental, right? So be curious at how you could improve your business. Sure. Be curious of how you could learn. Be curious how your team could improve. I love what you said. Only because they're friendly doesn't mean they're doing a good job. And I thought about myself. I'm like, man, when I was a salesperson, I was really friendly. Was I doing a good job? So it does make sense. And what are the jumping into that, what are the KPIs that you're looking for with your employees? Friendliness isn't, I don't know if you can really, keep a KPI.
This is a reminder.
But overall,
I have a
what are
call.
the key KPIs for that? How do you keep a track of that friendly employee, how to do better?
Well, very simply and quickly, it translates into numbers. And one of the things that basically any flower shop can do, if you're running a POS, pull a report, look at the average sale for the entire store and then individually. And our metric is, if you have a staff member whose numbers align with everybody else's, if their average sale is more than $5 below the collective average for the store, that shows you they're pretty sinful. They're asking how much you want to spend. They're not offering the finishing touches. They're selling from their own pocket, because collectively you should all be in sync with each other. But that person who's lagging behind, again, they could be friendly, but the numbers don't lie. The numbers tell the story that person is chronically underselling.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. So Tim, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today. Really look forward to the next one, and we'll stay in touch. I'll give you a call on sometime this week. I want to catch up with you. But
good deal.
Thank you again. I'm gonna
Thanks
do a
everybody.
little housekeeping. Take care, everybody.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Wait, let me say bye to Rebecca. Bye, Rebecca. So, Tim, awesome presentation, right? Because it did get us to think of many different perspectives when it comes to florists and flower shops and how to sell, right? The one thing that kind of clicked on me a little bit on the right or the wrong way was, don't sell with your wallet, right? That's so hard for me to do because as an empath, and many of us in the industry are empaths because we do something for a purpose of making people happy. It's really hard for me to do. But if the bottom line is making a profitable business, I guess you gotta think of their wallet and then your wallet at the same time. But that was something that I forgot to ask them about. Is how do you get past that barrier of wanting to be empathetic to the situation? But maybe we'll ask them on the next show. But I do want to do a little housekeeping. We are excited to be going to SAF, and SAF was the sponsor. We do invite everybody to join us at SAF. What is SAF? Society of American Florists. It's one of the oldest associations, and it's its 140th year of convention. So that means the convention is pretty dang good, right? So 20 plus educations covering AI, the economy, profitability. There is also a state of the industry speech by Kate Penn, which is awesome. It's worth the time. You can network with over 400 people. What is it? Who is it for? It's for florists, designers, wholesalers, growers, distributors, startups. If you're just getting in the industry and you don't have a business yet, it's a great membership. They have some great perks as well. So I believe you do have to be a member or not. There is another ticket for non-members, but becoming a member allows you to connect to the community. And that's what we stand for here at New Bloom Media, is to innovate, connect, and bloom. And connecting is the supporting of associations, working with associations to help continue to strengthen our community, the floral community, and help the floral community continue to network. Because with information, networking, community, we all bond together and we're all better informed. There are competitions, receptions, workshops, tours. On the last day, there's going to be a great tour, giveaways, and much, much more. If you haven't attended in a while, attend. There's also vendors, so you can find some great vendors. And if you have attended, continue to attend, just like myself. I've been attending for the last 5 years. So I highly recommend it to everybody at each level and at each sector of our industry. So a new segment, we're very excited to be announcing a new segment, and that's our correspondent. That's something that Tim Huckabee is going to be doing, which not only will he be doing takeovers, he'll also have 10 minutes once a month on our show. Hopefully it could be sporadically. And we also having Joe Donzetzi. For those of you that don't know who he is a expert within the supermarket world. But that information, in my opinion, is key for the florist world. Why? We just heard it from Tim Huckabee. if the florists don't react to see what the wholesalers, what the supermarkets are doing, and how they're catering to the customers, we're not, it's going to be, no doom and gloom, but they're going to take a piece of the pie. So why not, as a florist, a wholesaler, a distributor, a grower, an importer, a farm, tune in, listen to Joe Don, as he's going to be giving perspectives on what supermarkets are doing, how they work best with growers, what they're doing with floral design and trends, so that we can stay up to date. A key mission of mine and our company has always been cross-sector information. Why? Because again, if you know what this person's doing, that person's doing, this person, you can make that information into your own and learn from everyone involved. And not only that, again, it grows community, because if you know what issues a farm is going through, or what issues a supermarket going through, you're much more aware. So I ask you, tune in August 8th, 1 p.m., as he will be joining us every second Friday of the month. I'm very excited to have him join us every second Friday of the month. And that's really it. Wait, we have another one here. We do have super cool episode. If you've never heard of Red Kennicott, he's a legend in the industry. He does so much for our industry. The owner of Kennicott Wholesale, which is a employee-owned company. Very excited to have him, because I respect him because of his support for the industry, period. Right? That's something that I really admire in people, that they continue to remember where they came from and continue to invest in the industry. So tune in as we talk about his best practices and much more. And then we're also on that same episode right after, so it's almost like a double hitter. Is that what we call it? A double hitter. We're also going to have Willie Armelini diving into his book, Flowers Come From Where. So if you're a florist or a wholesaler or someone the other day, a distributor, breeder, reached out to me and said, hey, what book can I read? I highly recommend Flowers Grow From Where. No, Flowers Come From Where. I believe I have the name wrong. Sorry about that. Flowers Come From Where. Why? Because it tells you the beginning of our industry, how it all kind of started in the history of it. And it's just great information. So tune in. These are both going to be 30-minute sessions, so we could all tune in and learn more about the industry, the history of the industry, from two awesome legends. Again, if you're a florist, you might say, that's not important to me. In my opinion, humble opinion, it is. Because knowing what wholesalers are going through, where the industry came from, where the industry is going, is so key, because you're able to maneuver different environments. And tuning into Willie Armelini, not only because he's cool, but also the book does educate you of, it didn't just happen overnight. We're lucky to have this industry, and we're lucky to have such plethora of flowers, because before we only had carnations and palms and some roses growing in the US and some other things, but it was so minimal. So sometimes it's great to look at history, to remember where we've been, and to remember where we're going. Again, don't forget to check out SAF. Here's the QR code. Give you a couple seconds. Scan it. It'll take you directly. You'll see a bunch of pop-ups. Just X them, and so you can read the information. I need to let them know about that. So sorry about all those pop-ups. But again, thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for Tracy Bell for chiming in. I appreciate you. Next time, maybe join us, and I might be doing a little raffle for everybody at comments and giving you a surprise gift at the end, just to create that environment of feeling open. Because don't forget that this show is by the floral community, for the floral community, and you are part of the community. Thank you for your time. Have a great day, and take care.
The Bloom Show, and if they connect and bloom.